Good day, everyone. I am coming in here to talk to you today about the state of the internet in the year 2021 and how pathetic it is, particularly in the upload direction. And I feel like this is deja vu. I feel like I maybe have talked about this before, but I really feel now that I should. This is October 29, 2021. And me as an internet nerd, if there was such a thing as an internet nerd certification certificate, I'm sure, qualify. Because I love networking. I love, keeping up with it and trying to have the best internet I can have. Because we shouldn't all have to be in the Stone Ages. I mean, if we were, we should still be on dial-up. I'll actually get to that point here in a minute, in a few minutes. Okay? So, in probably 95% of this country, one can get either cable or DSL for high-speed internet. These are the same options that we had back in freaking 2006, 2005, and all the way back at least that far. And I know the first cable deployments, I think, occurred as far back as, 1998? Maybe even late 97? I think I know of a few friends that actually got cable back in 97. Don't know what cable was like back then. I wouldn't see cable until 2000. In the fall of 2000, I got the chance to see what was then known as Cox at Home. It was part of the At Home internet brand that was very common. Many cable providers, in fact, I'd almost be willing to say most of them at the time, used At Home under their various companies and such. But I remember seeing Cox at Home, and as I remember it, I think back then the IPs were actually static IP addresses for just home cable connection, not even business. I don't even think business cable was a thing yet back then. But so we've had cable for over 20 years, and it has improved somewhat from what it was back in 2000. There's no doubt about that. I mean, download speeds have gone from roughly 3 megabit or less in 2000 up to 900 meg to a gigabit range today. That's a huge improvement. We don't need any more download. I mean, if they want to give it to us, great. If we have the hardware to support multi-gigabit download, I've certainly never seen it, but even at 1 gig per second, 1 gigabit per second is pretty freaking fast. I have virtual servers that are all connected at 1 gig, and that can produce some nice results. And there's a reason I have those virtual servers, and it's mainly because of the fact that none of the consumer internet providers seem to think that the internet only operates in one direction. It only operates in download. Like it doesn't. The upload is only out of necessity to accommodate the download. It's not, let's actually give consumers upload that's decent for the times. I mean, times change. We do more with our upload now than we did in 2000. And I'm not even talking piracy or any of that everybody likes to complain about when we start talking about upload speeds. Sure, that's going to happen. But there are other uses like legitimately backing up your content and having it not take 5 years? Why should upload still be ridiculously slow in 2021? Just there's no reason for it. I mean, and really, even back in 2000, the upload could have been better. Could have been, even if it wasn't symmetric, it could have been at least, at least probably 3x1 or some such thing. I mean, there was a company in New York in the early to mid 2000s that consistently operated out of New York and gave people 10 megabit down and 1 meg up. This was at a time when no cable provider wanted to even go that far. I don't know what their backbone was, but I surely would like to think it could have handled 10 meg by 1 meg even back then. But it blows my mind how every single, no matter what it is, DSL. I had DSL for off and on for several years, from 2001 when I got my first broadband connection all the way to, I think my last actual DSL connection that I had was in 2011, because I had AT&T U-verse back then, briefly. And that was, for its time, it was decent. But, DSL can't seem to even keep up these days. And in fact, older DSL deployments aren't even a thing anymore. Well, maybe they are. I don't know. I haven't tried to get old school DSL recently, but the fact that it's even still a thing is kind of sad. But like all the internet offerings are not symmetric. So your upload speed, the speed that you send data at, for those that don't know what upload is, that's the speed that you would send data at, whether you're doing, whether you're sending a video feed to someone, or whether you're, putting a file somewhere, or whether you're doing a combination of those things. That's uploading. You're using your outgoing bandwidth, or your upstream, as some might call it, the upload part of your internet connection. The sending of data is your upload. And it's always, 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 always slower than your download. For one thing, I've never understood the logic of that. First of all, my home network, I don't have a home network right now, but when I did, the home network certainly was not asymmetric. I could send data to my other computers just as fast as I could receive it. So why can't the internet be like that? And for a while put it this way, I am much more for symmetrical connections if they would be offered. Back in the mid-2000s, around 2003, 2004, I had a DSL provider that actually offered a few symmetrical DSL speeds. They offered the asymmetrical speeds as well, which at the time was, what was it? It was 768, 128, I believe, at the low end. 1.5, 384. So 1.5 meg down, 384 kilobit up. 3 by 768 and 7.1 by 768 were the speed offerings you could get from the DSL provider I had back in the mid-2000s. I don't even know if this provider still exists anymore. It probably doesn't. Because most of the third-party DSL providers would go through the local phone company, of course, and the phone company has their own ISP usually. So I don't think third-party DSL providers are still a thing in 2021, but I don't know. I haven't looked. So feel free to correct me if I'm wrong on that. But the point is, I had a third-party DSL provider, and not only did they offer those speeds, but they also offered symmetrical speeds if you wanted them. You could get 384 kilobit symmetric and 768 kilobit symmetric. So at the time, I had a choice. I could either get 3 meg by, 3 by 768 or 7.1 by 768 they offered both. But I could also get 768K symmetric. So since this was a backup connection to my cable connection, at the time I had Adelphia Cable. Remember Adelphia Cable? Adelphia, the company that no longer exists? They were the cable company in the area that I lived in at the time. So I had 4 meg by 512 kilobit cable, which was all you could get at that time, so far as I knew. And I could get 768K symmetric. I could get 7.1768 symmetric, but I wasn't quite close enough to the CO to get the full 7.1. We actually tried it, and I could only get about, I could almost do it, but not quite. I could only do about like 5.7 roughly was the best my line could do. Sometimes I could do 6, but I couldn't do the full 7.1. So what I opted to do, since I really wanted it for the extra upload, because it was 256K faster than what I was getting on my cable connection at the time, I opted to get 768K symmetric. And that's exactly what I got. I could upload it about 87, 88 kilobytes per second in both directions. I mean, it was kind of nice to know that whatever I downloaded, if I was going to upload it somewhere else to back it up or whatnot, I could do it in the same amount of time that it would take me to download the same thing. It may have been slower than my cable connection was by quite a bit, but at least I could, equally, my connection was symmetrical. I could equally upload and download at the same rate, which is what I wanted. To me, I feel that's how any network should be. Local or wide area, internet, whatever. You shouldn't have weaker upload than download. I mean, who thought that was a good idea? Who thought that would actually make sense? I mean, does it really cost that much more to send data out than it does to receive it? Because, I mean, we get so much more. Look at what we get now. I mean, yes, things have improved, but look at this. Now, on cable, DSL offerings are pretty much only slightly better than they were. And I don't think they're any better than they were in 2011 when I had 24 meg down and 3 meg up. Strictly DSL offerings aren't, I don't think they're much better than that. I know I recently looked up what could I get in my area on AT&T, which is the dominant provider in this area where I'm at now, currently. And it was 25 meg down, which I would take that to be the 24 meg down and 3 meg up that I had back in 2011. Okay, that was 10 years ago. 10 years ago, we made quite a bit of change in the internet between 2001 and 2011, but apparently not much in the way of change after that. So by that logic, we should still be on dial-up, We shouldn't have gotten off dial-up at all until like 2010. If we have to be behind the curve by at least a decade or more. Yeah, it boggles my mind. Because now on cable, we can get your standard tier, and I'm using Spectrum as an example because that's what we have in this area, but other providers are pretty much similar. Nobody seems to want to innovate anymore. Comcast, Spectrum, they're pretty much all doing the same stuff now, roughly, with maybe a few slight variations, because of course they don't compete with each other, so they all pretty much offer the same services in their respective areas. So now on Spectrum you can get 100 meg down, 10 meg up is the advertised speed. It's usually a little bit better than that, but it's 100 meg down, 10 meg up. You can get, I think it's 400 meg down, 20 meg up, if I'm remembering correctly. Or you can get what amounts to nearly a gig. It's like 940 down, 940 megabit down, and 35 megabit up. You notice the upload doesn't go up as much as the download does. It goes 100, 400, 940. The upload goes 10, 20, 35. They can't even manage to make it 40 on the final tier. I mean, why not 10, 20, 40? That would at least make sense. Or hell, even, I mean, we have improved cable technology since 2000. I mean, back in 2007, the best you could do, I think, was 3 meg up with the old DOCSIS 2 setup. Maybe it was 5. I don't remember. The absolute best that a modem could do, I think, was 3 to 5 megabit up. And 35 meg down was as good as you could get. Most providers capped you at 20, I believe, if you were even lucky enough to have a provider that would be innovative enough to give you those higher speeds. Most wouldn't. And that's what I've never understood. Like, these providers are afraid to innovate. If you're willing to pay for it, why aren't they willing to provide it? I've never understood that. You know, even for business. Now, for a while, back in like 2008, I actually did have Time Warner Business Class, which is what preceded, today's modern Spectrum cable in the area. I had cable business class for a while. And why did I have cable business class? Because at that time, that was the what you had to get a faster upload. If I remember correctly, the best consumer upload you could get was, and I'm trying to think back now, I think it might have been 10.1 or maybe even 15.1.5 or 15.1 even. It was something ridiculously low. So if I wanted 2 meg up, I had to go business class. And I did have business class for a bit. I had 15.2, and it was very solid. There were issues that cropped up later on that had nothing to do with the download or upload it was other networking issues that caused me to leave business class in the end. But as far as the speeds, they were solid when I would get them. The speeds were right where they should be. I got my 2 meg up most of the time, and there was no issues. But again, it was asymmetric. 15 meg down, so I could pull it like 1.6, 1.7 megabytes per second. But upload, I could only do, at best, 239, 240 kilobytes per second. That was in that range. That's as good as I could do. That's a big difference. And it wasn't 2 meg symmetric. I couldn't, I could always download better than I can upload. Always. As far as I know, cable has never offered a symmetric internet tier of any kind. Even though they could. I mean, right now, this is what kind of blows my mind. Right now, on cable, the lowest download speed you can get, so far as I know, is 100 megabit on Spectrum. 100 meg down. Okay. The best upload you can get on cable, and it doesn't matter if it's business or residential, because I looked into it, and it doesn't appear that there's any difference now in the speed tiers at all between residential and business. So there's literally no point in getting business unless you want like maybe SMTP availability or whatnot. That would be it, because otherwise you're not gaining anything like you used to. So your lowest available download speed on Spectrum is 100 megabits. The best available upload speed that you can get on Spectrum, the best available tier you can get, gives you 35 megabits up. That's it. Do you realize that even if you were to combine, have a tier with both of those speeds in one package, you would be getting still asymmetrical speeds. You would have 100 down and 35 up. That's still asymmetric, although that would be a much better ratio than 100 meg down and 10 meg up, or, a gigabit down and, 940 meg down and 35 up, which is just an absolutely pathetic ratio. I mean, assuming you can even get the full gigabit or anywhere close to it, which I don't have gigabit here to test it. The best speed I've ever tested at this location was, for a while, we did have 400 meg down, and I did get every bit of it. I remembered I pulled a file, I think I pulled like 44 gigs or 43 gigs of data in something like 16 or 17 minutes. I averaged about 39, 38 megabytes a second. So I definitely got my speed. I think I even peaked a little over 40, if I remember correctly. I'm sorry, 38 to 40 megabytes per second. I think I said megabit. I meant to say megabytes. I did pull about 40 gigs of data at about roughly 39 to 40 megabytes per second. So I was getting the speed that I was supposed to on the download. But to take that same data and upload it somewhere, at the time the upload was 20. So at best I could do like 2.3, 2.4 megabytes per second up, I believe. To put that in the context of transferring files. I mean, what is it with this? We got to have non-equal download and upload. What, why can't we have symmetrical upload on existing technology? And then let's not even talk about fiber. Okay, let's talk about fiber for a minute. I'm trying to think when I first heard about the idea of fiber for consumers. I don't remember what year it was. I want to say 2006 or 07. It might have even been before that. I might have an old live journal entry that might talk about that. I'd love to. I might have to see if I can go back and, because I still have my live journal. I think I can still access the older entries that go all the way back to 2004. And maybe I make some mention of it in there because fiber. When I first heard about fiber, I was actually it might have been in 04, 05, because I think I was still living in Lancaster, California at the time, because I remember thinking, oh, maybe fiber will come here to this area. The first inklings of fiber that I think I ever heard about was, I think, a small ISP in Northern California that may still be around. I think it was called Sure West. I remember they offered 10 megabit symmetric fiber connections, and I used to go on DSLreports.com and look at some of the speed results from those guys, and just be in amazement that they could, residences could get that speed. I mean, I would expect that from, dedicated businesses. Really, the only place I've ever seen that has had really good internet has been college campuses, be they community colleges or universities. And I've been to a handful of both. Well, I've been to 2 universities, and I've been to, actually, you know what? I think I've been to both. Two community colleges and 2 universities. That's kind of funny, because I've been to the campus I went to school at, which was Antelope Valley College from 2012 to 2015. So I had plenty of experience on their network, which was originally 100 meg symmetric, and it increased the later part of the time I was there, and it was, I think it was 100 meg down and a gig up, but I believe that, a gig down and 100 meg up. Yeah, going the other way would just be silly. Yeah, because I remember downloading something at like 40 to 50 megabytes per second at one point. On their upgraded network, but they had their upload was always 100 meg from what I remember. But still, 100 meg when the best you can do is 20 or 10 is quite a nice improvement. I would often, if I was making YouTube videos or whatnot, I would often, in fact, I used to do this. I would take my computer to campus just so that I could finish a backup or whatnot that I might have been doing at the time, because it would get done quicker. And people would say, well, it runs in the background. You don't have to worry about it. Well, that may be true, but I don't want to wait 5 years. I mean, at that rate, what do I want to do? Be on dial-up and wait for it to back up 40 or 50 gigs or more? Yeah, no. I mean, that's the mentality that people seem to have. Like, oh, well, because it's always on, you can just let it do its thing in the background. Maybe, but I'd like to be productive. I'd like the backup to not take 27 years to finish. You know, if it doesn't take me a week to download it, it shouldn't take me a week to then back it up, whatever it is. And so, you know, that has always been my pet peeve with internet and in general. In fact, even when fiber was first rolled out, when I first heard about it, even if fiber was asymmetric, I've not understood that. They could have gone symmetric from day one on fiber. Now, in the case of Sure West, it wasn't. But then I started hearing about this thing called Fios. The first I heard of that was, I believe they were doing a trial run in a place called Keller, Texas. I believe was the very first place to get Verizon Fios. And I think this was around 04 or 05. Someone correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it goes back that far. But if I remember right, back then the options were, what was it? I'm trying to think. I know I think it was 15 by 2 and 30 by 5. I think those were your options. I know the top of the line was 30 by 5, and I did actually know someone. Once it expanded, it started to expand later on, probably 05, 06. I did know somebody that had Fios I believe they were in the Dallas area, and I actually did a test with them where we did some uploading and downloading, where I could see what it looked like, and they got every bit of their speed, both directions. I mean, I saw 30 meg down, and I saw the 5 meg, every bit of the 5 meg up, from what I recall. I mean, I knew this was going to be a game changer. This Fios was going to be an absolute game changer, and I was just hoping and just excited that we were going to, you know, change the internet as we knew it for everybody. I mean, that's basically what happened when broadband came along. You might remember, those of us that remember dial-up, broadband was like, oh my God. And I'm actually strongly convinced that if it hadn't been for Napster, broadband would not have expanded as much as it did. Because people wanted their music, and there was no other way to get music. There was no music store yet. In fact, I think it was because of Napster that we got the music store. You know, the record companies were still hell-bent on selling CDs, and when all of their CDs became digital copies that could be traded around and sent around. Remember, the creator of Napster was a 19-year-old at the time. God knows what he does now in his late 30s, early 40s, whatever. But he changed the internet. I'm pretty confident of that. We may have still had broadband, but I don't think it would have been adopted as quickly as it, you know, because music is something everybody wants, no matter what kind of music they like. I really think that Napster kickstarted the broadband, the broadband industry. But I mean, look at how much of a shift that was. You went from having to, you know, wait 15 minutes just to grab 3 to 4 megabytes of data, to having, and that was in the best of conditions. You went from that to suddenly having an always-on connection almost equivalent to that of a business, you know, with speeds that were equivalent to T1 speeds or even greater. You know, 3 meg down, 7 meg down. I mean, it really improved things. DSL was amazing when it came out. And then, you know, cable came around nearly at the same time. So, of course, if you could get cable, you would often get even better downloads than DSL. And like I said, the early cable deployments had static IP addresses, which I find amusing. But in any case, you know, we had that shift in the internet, and people could be always on and doing stuff, and it was amazing. You never had to worry about tying up the phone line just to use the internet, or, you know, dropping off of it. You were always connected. But yet, this fiber begins to roll out, And it it's a much slower process. Um, this was back in the mid 2000s, late 2000s, and I remember I got to use FiOS once in that time. I think it was in summer or fall of '08. I had a friend that lived, now keep in mind, we both lived in the same valley. We both lived in the Antelope Valley of Southern California. And it's interesting because Lancaster, where I lived, had Verizon, and Palmdale, which is right next door, had AT&T. And if you lived kind of in the middle or in between, like there was a little community called Quartz Hill, which, depending on where you lived, if you were on the Lancaster side or the Palmdale side of Quartz Hill, then that determined who provided your service. Like where my friend lived, over by the high school there, they had Verizon FiOS. They were in a brand new neighborhood. They were in a house that I think had just been built or was fairly new. And I got to go there once and see FiOS in action. This is not long after the 30x5 had been available, I think. And I remember I did some speed tests on their connection, and it was rock solid. The latency was amazing. And I'm like, well, why don't we have this? I'm only like 7 miles away, if that, from where my friend was. They had fiber, I didn't. Well, it turns out I would never get fiber. And to this day, the area that I used to live in, as far as I know, does not have fiber. Just because it's in an older part of town. I was like, what the hell? I started to see reports that were very concerning. Fiber wasn't being rolled out to the entire city as I had envisioned. I mean, it made sense. I mean, why would you roll out the newest technology to only select neighborhoods? But in fact, that's what was being done. And I was very disappointed to learn that the whole thing was, you're only going to get the absolute best in internet access if you live in the 3 blocks that we're going to give access to. That's it. The rest of you, you're stuck on 1990s, early 2000s technology because we can't be bothered to actually give everybody the internet that they deserve. Upgraded, more modern internet. With that kind of mentality, like I said, it's a miracle we even got off dial-up. I don't understand why we've become, and now, later on, Verizon would in fact sell all of their West Coast assets. Verizon doesn't have fiber on the West Coast anymore. They now only provide fiber to those areas on the East Coast that have it. And I have seen that twice. I've seen FiOS in action twice. FiOS is the only fiber optic internet provider that I've had the chance to see, both in its early form and in much later years, its current form. I've seen. So I've seen it in action a handful of times. And it's amazing. It really is. But why can't the end user everywhere get access to this? Everybody's worried about how expensive it is. Well, wasn't it expensive to deploy, cable when it came out? Wasn't it expensive to deploy telephone lines when they came out? Why are we afraid to invest in modern technology and upgrading our technology? We literally seem to be afraid to do that. afraid that, oh my God, we're not going to get our money back within, 45 minutes of upgrading everybody. We don't get our money back right now, we can't survive. Well, you ain't going to survive at all if you don't upgrade everybody, let everybody have the chance to experience, the latest and greatest in whatever technology we're dealing with. Fiber, cable, it doesn't matter. Like, I'm pretty confident that the cable modem that's sitting in the other room could do more than it's doing right now. Even if I had the highest package, which we don't because the internet's not in my name. But the point is, even if it was at its highest package, it would not be performing at peak potential. I don't think. I refuse to believe that 35, 37 megabit upstream is the best that a cable modem can do. If for those willing to pay for it, let us see what the cable modem can do in the upload direction. I would like to see is, so this is a rant based on, talking about the internet, having the best the internet can offer with all available technologies. Around here, the likely option would be AT&T fiber, which I swear is available somewhere in Bakersfield, but I don't know where. I'm in Bakersfield, California right now, and I would love to know where AT&T fiber can be had in this town, because I swear I've heard that it's available here, but I couldn't tell you where. I'd like to see AT&T fiber in action. I have not seen AT&T fiber. So, yeah, let's upgrade the internet, folks. Let's get modern. I mean, let's see what our technologies are capable of and quit being afraid to invest in them. If you're going to roll out fiber to an area, don't only roll it out to the 3 people that are going to be able to get it in the newest neighborhood. Yeah, they should get it, but so should the people in the oldest neighborhood. You shouldn't pick and choose like that. You didn't pick and choose where broadband was deployed, the initial DSL and cable deployments. But why are we so afraid to improve things? I don't understand. I mean, are we going to be sitting here 30 years from now and go, oh yeah, my cable connection that I've had since 2016 is still working great, and it's still the best thing I can get in this area? Why do I think we will? I mean, what is it going to take for us to actually be willing to improve our technology? Why just stay on one thing, and just, why not improve things? That's my question. When we got off dial-up, why not give us the best technology can offer, whatever it is? Deploy fiber, deploy it to everyone. But I'm not against cable either. Cable is nice and semi-portable and has its advantages too. So give us the best that cable can offer. None of this 35 meg upload crap. Certainly it can do better than that. 35 meg up cannot be the limit of DOCSIS. What are we using now? 3.1? 35 meg up can't be the limit for that. I mean, at least, 50, 60? Do we even know what the upload speed of DOCSIS 3.1 or whatever we're on, what it is? Do we even know? Because I certainly have not seen a provider offering more than 35 meg up, but I refuse to believe that 35 meg up is as high as it goes. It just doesn't seem right. But what do I know? But either way, I think things could be improved upon. I'd like to see, if you're going to deploy fiber, just deploy it. I mean, don't be scared and sell off your assets and then, leave, the guys on this block can get fiber, but nobody else in the entire city can get it. That's not cool. That's like saying, okay, this guy on this street can get cable, but the rest of you, you're stuck on dial-up. You know, what's different here? How's that any different? Anyway, take care, everybody. Hope you enjoyed my rant, and I'll see you next time.